Welcome to another video. Today I want to talk about 5 production and mixing tips that I'm really sure is going to help you quite a lot. I'm going to try to keep this as quick and as simple as possible. I'm going to be using Logic Pro, but you can do this with any other DAW out there. Now the first trick we're going to be doing today is the classic EDM bass pump that sounds a little bit like this. So the first one, the one I don't recommend at all, is doing it manually with your volume fader. So we're going to try to automate this and make the sound go in and out, with every single beat. So the first way to do it is the most tedious way. You need to basically write the fader, let's say. You start at 0 and you bring it up to whatever you want. The peak has to be the point where it's actually starting to fade out again. So that will be where the kick is, pretty much around here and here and here. Let's see how it sounds. We can try to make this a little bit higher just to make it more obvious. Now, the second method, we can use a compressor. We can use any type of compressor. I recommend using the stock one. There's nothing wrong with it. So what we need to do this is first the compressor and then something to sidechain the compressor too. So I just made here a quick MIDI file. This is a contact library with drums. And I just created a simple pattern here, which is going 4/4. This is gonna tell me when to activate the compressor, right? So what we want to do is we take the compressor, we go to the sidechain, go to instrument or audio if that's what you're having. You can also use it with drum samples or any kind of sample. And we use this instrument, drum 2. So just by default, this is how it would sound. So we're gonna play around with the threshold and with the ratio and attack and release. Those 4 things is gonna tell us how it's going to sound, how quick it's going to attack. So it's going to dip the sound and how fast it's going to release the sound. And that's with the attack and release. And with the threshold and ratio tells us how much it's going to reduce the sound. So we play with the threshold a little bit and ratio. And we start to get that pump effect. We can play with the makeup gain. The good thing about using the compressor is you can set up any kind of rhythm you want from the sidechain input, aka this, and you can not have it only on 4/4, but you can do something different. Okay, trick number 2. Let's talk about aux channels. Aux channels are a great way to add effects to your tracks without doing them on the insert. This is helpful for 2 things. The first one allows for a better control on how much of the effect you want to hear. Now, nowadays, most plugins have a mix knob. So that says that you can say how much of the effect you want on that track, right? But it's still having an aux channel with the effect has its perks. Like, for example, if you have a vocals with reverb and you want to clean up just the reverb, you can send the vocals to an aux channel, add the reverb, then an EQ, and that EQ will only affect the reverb, not the main vocal. There are other perks to using aux channels. Let's say we're doing drums and we want to send the snare and the toms to a reverb, but we don't want to apply any reverb to all the other tracks. So that's where aux channels comes in. So to do that, all we need to do is say, okay, I want to send this somewhere else. Let's say bus 32. And let's say I want to send the toms as well to the same channel. So we go to bus or aux channel 32, and we can do here any kind of processing we want. Let's say we want to add some reverb. This is gonna sound ugly, but this is just for the sake of the video. I'm gonna start off with this aux channel muted, so you see before and after. Now let's activate it. So notice how the drums and the snare, they have reverb on both of them, but there's nothing to the kick, there's nothing to the cymbals or the room mics or anything else. This is actually really, really helpful, not only to control the amount of the effect that you want on the tracks, but also it's a great way to have, let's say, everything in the same room, but at the same time, having everything tight and clean without making a mess with 5 or 6 different reverbs. Okay, next trick. We have grouping tracks or stacks, like we call it as well. A really common example could be you have a stack of vocals, a lot of harmonies, they're all doing the same, or quite a few guitars, they're all doing the same. The key here is doing the same. And let's say you want to process all of them. Now you could process each one of them individually, but that will use a lot of power resources in your computer. So a great workaround is you just stack them all. So let's use this as an example. I just created 5 empty audio tracks, and let's assume they're all gonna be gang vocals. So in order to save resources, I might wanna select all of them and say create track stack. And now everything I do to this track here is gonna affect these ones, because these all go into this one and then to the out. So I can EQ and high pass once, and it's like I apply this to all of them. So this allows me to use just one EQ, just one compressor, and it's going to affect all of them equally. This is a great way to save resources and save time if you're dealing with a lot of tracks that are doing basically the same, like rhythm guitars, like different layers of snare, for example, or different layers of vocals, gang vocals, harmonies most of the time. And also you can send all of them to an aux channel and have one reverb affecting all the vocals. It's quite handy as well. Now, trick number 4 is the telephone vocals. This is something a lot of people like and a lot of people want to know how to do. And it sounds a little bit like this. Now, this first step we need to do is use EQ to cut out pretty much everything under 500 or 800 actually, and everything above 6K. Basically, that kind of shape that you want. You can tweak it according to your vocals, but overall it's going through there. Now, the second thing I did is to add some saturation almost to the point of breaking up. It adds to the feeling. Now you could leave it there and it's not gonna sound bad, but I like to go one step further and use a delay. You can use any delay you want. I'm using stock Logics. For this, you want a 16 note, just 1% feedback, and mix it to taste or whatever you need. Basically, what you want to achieve is like a slapback effect. So this is how it starts the vocals. I cried a million tears when you... And with these 3 plugins, this is how it sounds. I cried a million tears when you said goodbye. Now the last trick is sidechaining your vocal reverb to the actual vocals. Now, let's say we have these vocals here, for example. Let me play you just a tiny bit. I cried a million tears when you said goodbye. Now, I have these vocals here, and I'm sending them to an aux channel with some reverb on it. It sounds good, but the problem is the reverb is in the way of the vocals actually, because it sounds all the time. It's always there. So I want definition on the vocals and have the reverb in the background, right? And the best way to do it is, you guessed it, sidechaining a compressor to the vocals. First, we choose what to sidechain it to. In this case, I'm gonna be using a bus because that's where my vocals are stacked. Now, this is how they sound without the compressor.
I cried a million tears when you
Now, this sidechaining. Let's try with this.
I cried a million tears when you said.
In this case, doesn't work because it's compressing way too much. So I'm gonna adjust the threshold. I'm gonna adjust the ratio, and I'm gonna play with attack and release a little bit to make it sound more natural.
I cried a million tears when you said goodbye. I see you in my dreams, and I don't know why.
As you can hear, we have the vocals, we have some reverb in the background, but it's not in the way of the vocals. So it leaves room for them. And when you stop singing, we have the tail, we have the big reverb coming in. It's all about adjusting the threshold, ratio, attack, and release. This will tell us how much of the reverb we want, and this when we want it, basically. So let's hear before and after with the entire song.
I cried a million tears when you said goodbye. I see you in my dreams, and I don't know why.
Much better. The vocals are clean, are up front, they're not washed away, and that's good if that's what you want. But in this case, we want some clean vocals up front and then have the nice long tail of the reverb. And this is the best way to do it because you don't need to write a fader or anything. It just takes one plugin that you can find on every DAW and just a few tweaks. You can play by ear if you want to, and that's it, done. All right, I hope you enjoyed these 5 techniques for production and mixing. I'm gonna be doing more. If you have any specific one in mind, please let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll get back to you. Thank you very much.